There's a saying that every snowflake is unique, and in some aspects that is true. Some come in the form of Karens, others come in the forms of wet wipes, some are old, others are young, but at the end of the day, they are all snowflakes. Am I saying that the majority of people who play The Sims 4 are snowflakes? No, with an asterisk. With all due respect to anybody who gets upset, angry, or in any other high emotional state very, very easily from online content, this video is not for you, and I do politely recommend that you click off this video because this video is not made for your enjoyment.
Right, bitch.
I think it's really important to look at the first ever Sims game, The Sims 1. It's safe to say The Sims 1 was a very raunchy game, especially back in those days. In fact, a recent video I made on The Sims Hot Day actually got demonetized for being too raunchy, which goes to show what I mean. One of the most iconic images of The Sims 1 is having your Sim dance away in a stripper cage whilst other townies look on cheering at you strut your stuff. Or who can forget the iconic vibrating heart bed or the rather sultry heart-shaped hot tub. But when it comes to the wokeification of The Sims, I'm not just talking about sexual stuff. The Sims Burglar, another icon in the Sims series, has been completely nerfed out of The Sims 4. Many speculate this is because EA is scared of offending sensitive players, as the thought of being burgled is too traumatic for them to bear. But is it really that traumatic? I asked you guys on YouTube, and the majority of you pointed out that it's not really The Sims players who are becoming too woke for burglars and sultry heartbeds, but more so EA themselves. Some people even went as far as to believe it was another cash grabby attempt to make money from EA. To be fair, I do actually disagree. The Sims has always been very, very diverse and woke, even to its own demise. In fact, I can think of a few news articles I've seen before where Sims games have been actually banned in certain territories because they contain, for example, homosexual themes. And whereas most video game developers will just completely nerf their games outside of non-Western countries in order to make them non-banned, EA said, actually, no, not me, we're just going to keep The Sims as it is, and if you don't agree with the diversity, then you're not having the game. The Sims has never really followed the mainstream and has definitely been a pioneer in diversity in the video gaming industry as a whole. In fact, thinking about it, I honestly do not know any other video game which provides even just half the amount of diversity and inclusivity that The Sims 4 actually has. Many companies these days in general, I think, are terrible for like blackwashing or rainbow washing their content in order to make it woke and diverse. Like how in Pride Month, every single company changes their Twitter logo to a rainbow logo, but they don't actually do anything to resolve LGBT discrimination. It's just like a marketing thing. The Sims, on the other hand, has always just recognized LGBT people as normal, even when it hasn't been Pride Month. And the same goes for every other protected minority group. Maxis have always just made the effort to make the game as inclusive as possible, even when other video game developers were not doing it. And in my personal opinion, as a person who's played The Sims 4 professionally, I don't feel like modern concepts like third-person pronouns in the English language or having so many different labels for sexualities is forced down your throat as a player. In fact, I feel like the options are there for people who need them or want them, but if you don't want them, you don't really have to think about it. It's not really forced upon you. And when diverse concepts are forced upon you, it's only because it's a natural and normal part of daily life. For example, being gay or bisexual are totally normal things that could happen to any person from any country, no matter what your culture is, no matter what your laws are. Sexuality is not culturally specific, and as a result, sexuality is not something that can be toggled on and off in The Sims 4 and is just considered a normal part of daily gameplay in the game. In this sense, I would not say The Sims 4 is made for the snowflake generation, but just made for everybody. But I do think in other ways, colourful attempts at wokeness are ironically making The Sims 4 more and more grayscale, and I do think this is highly driven by snowflake culture, especially in the online Sims community, especially on the shitstorm that is Twitter. As a content creator, I obviously get a lot of hate. It's just a normal part of being a content creator. In my more mainstream content, like TikToks or on my other YouTube channel, most of these hate comments are very basic level hate comments, are like hate comments about the way I look or the way I speak or you're stupid, I hate you. But on my Sims videos on this channel, a lot of my hate comments do come in the form of woke criticism toxicism and woke education, because hate is not just I hate you. Hate and toxicity can also come in the form of being nice, coming across as nice but actually being very toxic. And you know, sometimes people will tell me that something that I said or the way I said it or an image I displayed on the screen in my video was deeply offensive. And you know, I remember once when I first became a content creator, I did this attractive or catfish series online. It's where I showed multiple faces in The Sims, and some of the faces look normal but others look completely bonkers from certain angles. I remember in this one video, just by chance, there were 3 Sims, a white one, a black one and an Asian one, and coincidentally the white one was the attractive one and the black and Asian ones were the catfish Sims in that video. Suddenly I was swamped with comments from people calling me a racist just because this one video out of multiple similar videos happened to show a white Sim as a non-catfish Sim. Like, does that mean I'm a racist? Of course not. But according to the internet, I was. Because from my experience as a content creator, most online snowflake culture of calling people out in a very toxic way comes in the form of a trend or a group attack. And I think it happens to a lot of other creators too. Another funny one is when I got accused of being a homophobe, like I'm literally gay, like literally of all people, could my stance on homosexuality not be any more obvious? I remember once I used a pride flag in a video and I got quite a few comments telling me it was really offensive to use that pride flag because I didn't actually use a brand new updated pride flag, because we all know, let's be honest, like the pride flag does get updated like every 5 seconds. And because I didn't use a brand new one, I was really offensive and I was offending all gay people. I remember reading these comments thinking like, well, I'm gay and I'm not offended. And I think that really does go to show that there is no such thing as something being offensive. Nothing is factually, objectively offensive. It's just that certain people, snowflakes, are subjectively offended in their own personal opinions. And because they are self-entitled Karens, they do assume that their own opinions apply to every single human on the planet. Unfortunately, it does also happen to be that those certain individuals who happen to be offended are usually the ones who love to express their opinions online, and they love to be really, really loud and shout about it. Whereas the people who don't get offended don't really say anything, they just sit there quietly. But in terms of the Sims community, I do definitely think it's these woke attacks that come in the form of education and holding people accountable, which is what drives a lot of the unnecessary wokeness in the Sims community in the Sims 4 game too. Take the high school years pack, for example. This expansion pack is widely considered to be the most Gen Z pack of all the Sims 4 packs, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually quite like a lot of the Gen Z fashion. I do think their sense of humor is shit. There is absolutely nothing funny about saying things like, oh, I can't keep sticking up for your bestie, and God forbid slay. That singular word haunts me on TikTok every time I upload a video. But I do think in general the Sims team did make a bad call over this overemphasis on Gen Z. Express yourself, because LGBT slay, softboy core slay, diversity slay, because there is honestly so much diversity in this pack, but there is barely any gameplay. And for a pack about going to high school, there is a lot of gameplay and marketing about expressing yourself, diverse fashion choices, being LGBT slay, gender neutral slay, but there's barely any marketing or gameplay geared towards actually going to school, even though it is a pack about going to school. In fact, one of the biggest criticisms this pack faced from many content creators, including myself, is that this pack came with not much in-school gameplay, and of the in-school gameplay that does exist, it's very shallow and not well implemented. Do I think that diversity was a bigger priority in the creation of this pack than actual high school gameplay? Yes, I do. I am all for diversity, I'm all for inclusivity. As a gay person, I am subject to homophobia basically for my entire life. I have to deal with being a minority group and being discriminated by society, and it sucks. So of course I want diversity and inclusivity. It is so important. But for me, diversity should just be a natural given part of modern video games and not a feature that takes priority over ordinary gameplay. The Sims is not the only video game to be destroyed by wokeness in the recent years. Saints Row, the GTA knockoff, became quite popular after making its stance as being a really over-the-top and wacky game full of really naughty innuendos and jokes that are definitely not family friendly and that would definitely make all of the woke people scream. However, in the more recent reboot of this game released in 2022, it received a lot of backlash for simply trying too hard to appease the woke generation and suppressing its really funny South Park style humor that it used to have. Many people have referred to this as a forced attempt at being diverse. For that, I will disagree. Just because a video game protagonist isn't a straight white man, that doesn't make it woke. woke, but what I do think make the reboot unnecessarily woke is the attempts to be cool and Gen Z and throw in all of this can't keep sticking up for your bestie Marvel Disney humor and all this TikTok humor, because the funny thing is the game became the joke that in previous games it used to make fun of. In a very similar sense, I do think the original Sims titles had this sense of humor like Saints Row of kind of poking fun at ordinary human life and adult life, and it would take some very adult concepts and introducing them in a way that was not really noticeable for young players but was really funny for older players. For reference, I do want to talk about the Sims 2 trailer, the original trailer for the game. This honestly highlights perfectly what I mean about the wokeification of the Sims. As you can see, it just shows a trailer of this man with his girlfriend and her pushing him off him, and it does seem very, very adult, as you can see right from the start. Immediately it starts with something very, very raunchy and kind of sexual, and it goes to show her even taking her top off at one point, and then it shows them getting married and her doing the exact same thing again and again and again, and then it shows the humor of adult life and how difficult it is raising children and how the man just hates his life and the mum does, and how the child sets the toys on fire, and then it shows them literally hating their life even more with all of these kids running around screaming, which is literally hilarious. Yes, I do apologize by the way for the really poor quality, but as you can see, then it's got them all the teens having a house party and things getting even worse for them, and then it finally shows the parents kicking them out and her taking her top off again. Like, it is such a funny trailer. This is the peak of the Sims humor that everybody used to love. This is why people fell in love with The Sims, because it was honestly just such a crazy funny experience. And although this trailer didn't obviously represent real gameplay, it did represent the intention behind it. And then when we look at the Sims 4 trailer, hashtag bro, hashtag free spirit, hashtag the dude, hashtag diva, hashtag everything, because millennial, hashtag everything. Everybody's having fun at a party. Everything is very goofy. Everything is very cool. Everything is very hashtag weird and hashtag everything. Looking back at that Sims 2 trailer, I think it's safe to say that this would never happen in The Sims 5, because unfortunately the minority of snowflakes generally tend to have the majority of influence in the video gaming industry. And in fact, when I did do my YouTube poll earlier, it goes to show that it is the minority of people who say these things, because the majority of people do miss the raunchiness of previous Sims titles and recognize it's not necessarily the snowflakes, but EA's reaction to the snowflakes. And in fact, thinking about it, The Sims 4 has the widest selection of adult mods and CC that were either not really seen or considered popular in previous Sims games. And I think it goes to show, as you guys know, whenever I do Sims 1, 2, and 3 Let's Plays on my channel, my catchphrase is, The Sims 4 could never, and that's because The Sims 4 could never without mods. Do I think overall snowflakes have ruined The Sims 4? I think that snowflakes perpetuate this boring narrative that The Sims must follow in order to become acceptable, and EA as a business, like most other businesses, are scared of not being consumer friendly, mostly to their own demise. And that's why, especially in recent years, I do think The Sims 4 has taken a much greater emphasis away from gameplay and more towards diversity. And I think it's in that sense where I do believe The Sims 4 has lost its touch with its player base. Very much even just evident looking at my audience base on my YouTube channel. As you can see, over 90% of my viewers are not kids. 90% of you are adults who enjoy adult things. So to answer the question posed in the title of this video, I don't think snowflakes have ruined The Sims 4, but I do believe that EA's fear of upsetting the snowflakes has basically destroyed The Sims 4 and basically every other future Sims title. And based on the answers on my YouTube post, thank you very much by the way for answering, I do believe the majority of you agree. And I think that begs the question, have EA actually given up on The Sims 4? I've actually done a video essay about why I do believe they may have given up on The Sims 4, so make sure you check out that video here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.